What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com. My name is Sean Sheehan, and I am back with my top bets for the week in the world of mixed martial arts. We have a packed weekend this weekend. We have a very good UFC card, obviously, with the pay-per-view heading to Boston, I believe. We have a good PFL card as well. If you haven't seen my preview for that, please check it out here on our YouTube or on Sherdog.com, wherever you find your podcasts as well. And we have a very good KSW card, which I also have a preview for. If it's not already out, it will be out shortly, so have a look for that and check that out as well. So a fun weekend of mixed martial arts from all corners of the globe, and there's much more to come as well over the next few weeks, so we can all look forward to all of that. But before we get into next week's UFC, PFL and KSW, let's look back at our bets from last week, and it was a pretty good week. The flyer didn't hit, but we hit 3 of our 4 bets before that, so I think we'll all take that any week. The flyer was Dos Anjos by TKO KO. That obviously didn't hit, and it was a plus 700 flyer, so it was a genuine flyer. And look, we all know how that fight went. I saw someone saying, I think it was my guy Ian O'Neill, saying that Luke Dos Anjos. And that was a good call, I suppose, there. And my call for that was wrong. The other one I had wrong was Steve Mowry. I thought it was not a great display by him, but a very good display by Moldavsky. So, yeah, that one was kind of called wrong. But the other 3 hit pretty well. The bigger price, I said on Logan Storley at minus 333. Actually, I don't think he had it as much of his own way as I was expecting, but still, look, he got the job done. Khalil Roundtree at minus 180. I thought that price was too big, and I think the fight, the way it went, showed that as well. And then Justine Kish at plus 130. That I said last week, I think that was the bet of the week, and I think it showed why. She had the clear advantage in that one, and she used it, and she got the win by a decision over in that one in Bellator. So that is that for last week. Let's look ahead to next week. So I'm going to start off with my KSW bet. I'm going to go with my PFL bet, and then I have 2 bets from the UFC, and my Fliers actually from the PFL as well. Right, first one that I'm going for is I'm going kind of the same as I went last week. I'm giving you a couple of underdogs in there, one underdog, a couple of even fights, and then maybe a little bit of a bigger favorite who I think is a good price, and that's the second bet there today. But the first bet I'm going for is Bogdan Gnidko, and he's fighting in the common event over in KSW in the light heavyweight championship, and he's fighting Ibragim Chuzhigaev. Now he is plus 163 in this fight. I watched a good bit of him. He's a very good fighter. He's 10-0, undefeated. His opponent 17-5, has been around for a while, but I just think he has an advantage in this one. Now, what's his advantage? Well, you look at his record over on Sherdog.com. As I said, 10-0, 6 knockouts, 4 submissions, and that's the type of fighter that Bogdan is. He is a finisher. He's a good athlete. He's not the biggest guy in the world at 6'1" for the division, but he hits hard and he just makes it tough on opponents at all times. And I think the matchup here for him, early doors, is more favourable. He's fighting out of a good camp as well. He's fighting out of the UFD camp with a lot of the top guys who you would see on KSW or maybe on German shows or on a lot of the Polish or a lot of the European shows that maybe the UFC or Bellator would bring over. And when you look at him, right, you look at his opponent Ibragim, the big difference in them, I'll say it again, is that kind of the athleticism, the movement, the way they both approach fights. Ibragim is like the slower, steadier. If the fight goes to decision, I'm going to be there and I'm going to kind of make it close no matter what happens. Whereas Bogdan is the opposite of that. I'm going to go in there, I'm either going to take you down and submit you, or I'm going to knock you out. And he's a very good grappling base as well. As I said, very good submissions. The only thing I would have an issue with for him is his time in the cage. As I said, all finishes, never gone to a decision. That's the only thing I would have for with him, and Ibragim obviously has that as well. He's look, he's a well-rounded fighter. He won the KSW light heavyweight title against Thomas Narcoon by decision. You know, when you beat Narcoon, you know you're a good fighter. So there's no doubt in that, I don't think, with Ibragim. But and he's a good striker. I wouldn't say an amazing striker, but he has a good safe game, I would say, and a good wrestling game as well. The one thing I would say is, like, when you get to a certain level, I was talking to on one of the podcasts this week about Khalil Roundtree. There's like a level at light heavyweight when you are the bigger, faster, more athletic guy, like Bogdan is here. You have such a clear advantage because the bigger divisions, they rely on that more. They rely on their physical gifts or physical advantages more. And you see all the guys towards the top are like that. Like, you look at, say, the UFC at the moment, right? Who are the guys right at the top? Like Yuri Prochazka, one of the most physically gifted guys you could possibly see. Jamal Hill, exact same, so physically gifted. Look at the way Johnny Walker has kind of risen again, so physically gifted. Look at the heavyweight division. John Jones, who was a light heavyweight for a long time. Francis. Look at the likes of Stipe, who's a very good physical guy. You know, JDS was always a guy I thought is just so physically good. Like, and what do all of them have? They're strong, fast, can move well, you know? And I think that is the difference in this fight. And that big rigmarole is all to tell you that. Like, I just think he's going to move around, find the space and find the shot. And if he can do that multiple times in the first round, I think he's too fast for Ibragim. I think Gnidko is a talented guy in all areas, and if he can find a shot as well, as I said, he can get the takedown, but I do think he will find a shot. I think he'll find the big shot. Let's have a look, I suppose, later in the week as well, the lines, the knockout. I fancy him early, so if he can get a big shot in there early, maybe go for that one. But I looked at this price, and I looked at all these fights, obviously the preview for it, and this was the one, as I thought about it more even after recording the preview, this is the guy that kind of stood out to me. This is the guy I can think in a few years we'll be talking about him with some of the other people there, and I think he is a very, very good fighter, and I'm going for him first fight of the week at plus 163. Right, the second bet I'm going for this week is from the PFL. And I am going for an Irishman, and you call me biased here, but this is definitely not this is definitely not a biased one. But I'm going for Nathan Kelly, who's fighting here. I think he's the top fight outside of the tournament, and he's fighting Damon Nelson, who is 4-3, and Nathan Kelly's 7-2. And Kelly's price coming in there is minus 275. Now, like last week with Logan Storley, the reason I'm giving you this is because I think the price is way wrong. Like, I think Nathan Kelly should be possibly like minus 600 here. Like, let me just have a quick look at some of the other prices on this. Like, there's a lot of big differences in prices here. Like, Dennis Golsov is minus 800 in one place. Maurice Green, his fight against Hinan Fahea has minus 800, minus 770 in some places. That's the sort of price I think Nathan Kelly should be here. I watched a bit of his opponent. Look, there isn't too much tape that I could find on Damon Nelson, but what I did see of him was that he can move around well. You know, he's not a guy who goes in there and throws it away in any of his fights or anything like that. He's 3 losses, 2 of them by decision, and the second one was late in the second round, you know, where he got finished. So he's not one of those guys who's going to throw it away at you, and he's, you know, won 4 fights as well, obviously, and was undefeated 4-0 as an amateur as well. So he's a good fighter. But you look at Nathan Kelly, right, and obviously I've been watching Nathan Kelly since he was an amateur and seen all his fights on the way up, and he was a guy who I honestly didn't think he was going to reach these levels, I'll be honest. And I know he's coached Barry Ogilvie, he was original coach, and he's coached John Kavanagh. I always believed in him, but I'm not going to come here and tell you lies. Like, I didn't. I especially looked at him when he was making his Bellator debut at 3-2, and I'd watched obviously a couple of his fights before that, but I went back and I watched them all at that stage, and I was thinking, like, he's going in there against Scott Pedersen, who's a good fighter, and he goes in there and he beats Scott Pedersen. They're like, oh, well, he looks good. He had a couple of fights then, one over in Centurion, then he came into the PFL and he fought Ben Ellis. and he destroyed him. And in his last fight against Zachary Hicks in the Challenger Series, he looked unbelievable. And those last 4 fights have really changed my opinion totally on Nathan Kelly. He looks so smooth in there now. His wrestling was always good, but it's after getting better. He's stronger. His jiu-jitsu is fantastic. His striking is good. He, I always say, it feels like I'm always saying lads are good athletes in this, but he does look a good athlete. But when the technique gets better and the ability gets better and what you're producing gets better, you sometimes look a better athlete, if you get me, Everyone looks a good athlete when they're winning, but I think he is as well. So I think this is the sort of fight again, like the last one against Zachary Hicks. Like, he went into that fight with Zachary Hicks, who's a good fighter around the place. He was, 8-4, I think, coming into that one, coming off of 3 wins in a row. And, a big thing going over to America fighting as well. It's not easy to leave, and I know he's fought in other places, but it's not easy to go over and fight in America, and he did it, and he did it easily. And here we go again, in MSG. It's a massive weekend for him, and I think he's well able for it. Plus, he has this elixir of the Irish card in December, and he could very well have this spot again on that. We'll have obviously the PFL European tournament finales, but it's all up for grabs after that, and he could really get a big spot in that. Plus, he could get a big spot next year, maybe on one of the tournaments. As we know, with PFL kind of in flux at the moment, like, is there takeovers of Bellator and all that kind of, we'll see, but that's obviously a chat for another day. But all of that now is in front of Nathan Kelly, and he has to win this fight, and I think he will. And honestly, I think that price, -275, is a very, very, very good price. I think he's going to go out there, impose his will, probably get a takedown, and maybe get a submission early in that one. Right. Let's move on. Let's look at the UFC. My first bet for the UFC, I'm going for Zhang Weili to win inside the distance. And she is -163 to do that, which honestly I was a little bit surprised at. I thought she would be a bit bigger of a price for that, to be honest, or a bit smaller of a price, whichever way you look at it. I thought that might be -250-ish, because I don't know about you, but I feel like this is the sort of fight where she is going to get it done. Now, not to say Amanda Lemos is not a good fighter or anything like that. She's only lost twice in her career, only been finished once, but that was against Jessica Andrade last year, and Jessica Andrade hasn't been on the greatest run since. But you just feel like what happened in that fight. She's been finished twice, submitted once and knocked out once, and the other one was by Leslie Smith back in 2017. So that's a good while ago now, in fairness. But I just feel like Zhang Weili, she has had enough, I suppose, setbacks over the last few years, that when she comes in here and fights, and when she gets on this roll, I suppose, next, that she will want to be like, she want to kind of let it out a bit and go. And we've seen it in her last 2 fights. She got 2 finishes in a row in those 2 fights, and I don't think she'll want to stop that going. Like, we all know that, remember her fight against Joanna Jędrzejczyk was just as kind of the pandemic was starting in 2020, and there was a complete mess of a camp and all that, but she still, it was one of the greatest fights of all time, absolutely unbelievable. And then she lost twice to Rose Namajunas, but got her title back, as I said, fought Joanna Jędrzejczyk again, got the finish, fought Carla Esparza, and got the title back in that one, and now it's her time to kick on. And I think, again, this is both a danger and I suppose a carrot, as I would say. Like, she has possibly the 2 biggest fights of her career, possibly, as I said. Hopefully more will come up, but ahead of her, or maybe the 3. Like, maybe the Rose Namajunas fight again. I know Rose has gone up, but like, maybe she could come back down. Right, there's one. Yan Xiaonan is another one, which if they could put that on in China, could be absolutely massive. And then she's Tatiana Suarez, this Habib-like figure who everyone thinks is going to be the next champion. It's kind of when, not if, and to do that, she'd have to beat Amanda Lemos. And I think, sometimes, and I feel like she gets it as well, right? I think she's one of these people that get it. I think if you look at, say, someone like Israel Adesanya, who doesn't get it, you can see, like, right, you have a matchup here, and this is a matchup you have to kind of make pay, right? So you get put in there with Jared Cannonier, right? The worst thing you could have in that is people leaving in the 4th round. You have to take advantage of that. You have to take, she's Amanda Lemos here. I'm not, I don't want to put Amanda Lemos down. I think she's a good fighter. But compared to Zhang Weili, she's not on that level. She shouldn't be seen as on that level, I don't think. Zhang Weili is a tremendous, tremendous fighter. And I think she will get the finish here. Like, you look at Lemos and you think, right, in her 13 wins, she has 11 finishes. 8 of them knockouts. So, like, is she going to go out there and knock Zhang Weili out? I find that very hard to see. Like, very, very hard to see. Now, you might say, Shani, well, what about Rose Namajunas? Didn't Rose knock her out the first time? She did, but she didn't knock her out the second time, And I don't think Amanda Lemos is Rose Namajunas either, if I'm being honest. I think she's going to struggle with the speed of Zhang Weili a lot. I think she's going to struggle with the strength. I think she's going to struggle I think she's going to struggle in inside kind of both striking and with maybe the clinch. I find it very hard to see Zhang Weili losing this. Like, Amanda Lemos is good everywhere. She's one of those fighters you'd look at her and think, well, what is she bad at? And like, someone with a 13-2-1 record, they're not going to be bad at much. Like, let's be honest here. But I just think Zhang Weili, I think Lemos will come. Do you know what? It'll be interesting to see how Lemos fights in the first round or two. Because Zhang, even the Esparza fight, she kind of slowed it down in the first round and picked it up in the second round. Like, Lemos has to realize that, and she has to set her stall out, in my opinion. And what does that mean? What's that going to look like for her? It's either a good thing, right, where she'll set her stall out and she'll put puzzles out there for Zhang Weili, or she'll set her stall out in like, oh no, this is my big moment, I'm freezing here, this is an issue type of way, And look, it's likely to be one or the other. She could come out and give the absolute display of her life, like someone like Alexa Grasso, or we've seen many of them down through the years. Or she could, come out and do, what Gagne did against John Jones or something like that, But either way, like, even if she gives the best display of her life, like, at worst, I think Zhang will win the decision. But I do think she will get the finish. I do think as well, like, even if Lemos fights well in the first round, throughout the second round, if she loses that third round, if it's going kind of against her, I feel like it's going to be tough. She doesn't have that much experience going long either, especially recently. Like, in her last, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fights, she's only gone to the decision once. And when you're fighting at the top level, never gone 5 rounds as well. She's only gone 3 rounds. I think, is it twice ever? Let me just look again. Yeah, 3 times. One draw and 2 decision wins. So not that much experience going long, and we'll see how that plays out for. But having said all that, you 5 rounds to get it done. I always like betting the finish in the 5 rounds, and I'm betting the finish here in this one for Zhang Weili. Right. My other bet from this is from the other title fight, and that is Aljamain Sterling against Sean O'Malley. I'm going for the over 2.5 rounds here, and that is -150. So every time I do one of these betting shows, and it's a title fight like this where it's a relatively evenly matched, you could say, now we'll find out, like, someone get knocked out in 2 seconds, right? But let's say a relatively evenly matched title fight. That, like, who's going to have the striking? I'm not sure. Like, if Aljo gets the fight to the ground, obviously you'd favour him maybe to get a big submission or something like that. But when you've two titans kind of going at it here, O'Malley went toe-to-toe with Petr Yan, and even if you think he won that fight or not, he still went toe-to-toe to him, went all the way. Same for Aljo, right? I always feel like those fights, a part of them is the planning for 5 rounds. When you plan for 5 rounds and when you space for 5 rounds, I suppose it does get elongated sometimes, the fight, right? It really, really does, unless there is, like, let's say like Lemos and Zhang, it's a more elongated, it's a more wide margin between the quality of the two fighters, you would say. Now, maybe that'll be the case here, and maybe I'm wrong, but I that's the way I'm kind of just feeling on it at the moment. Like, I'll give you my, I think Aljo will win, but I'm not too sure, right? But what I do think, like, my call, and if I was to make, like, my prediction for him, it would be it'll be evenly matched enough of a fight for the first 2 rounds. Like maybe at one stage, Sean will land a big shot. Maybe at one stage, Aljo will get the back and like see out the last 3 minutes of the round. Like I don't think Sean O'Malley is terrible on the ground. He's going to get immediately submitted. Now, look, if he takes his back and gets a rear naked choke, he could get immediately submitted. But if it's, you know, in the normal running of things, I don't think he will immediately. I don't think it'll be just a gimme. Like let's say with Habib against Justin Gaethje, right? If someone gets Justin Gaethje to the ground ever again, they're really good at jiu-jitsu. You know what's going to happen. You know there's kind of a big deficiency there. I don't think that is necessarily the case on O'Malley. Like as we said, we'll see. But that's my call on it. And so having said that, right, can you imagine Aljo surviving a big O'Malley shot in the first 2 rounds? I probably can, right? Can you imagine O'Malley surviving a takedown or 2 in the first 2 rounds? I probably can. And that's the reason I've kind of gone for it. I just see like they're going to be well prepared. There is one issue I think that maybe I'm leaving aside a little bit. I'm not too sure about O'Malley's durability, right? But that is something that's either we're going to see very early and it's going to be a TJ Dillashaw situation because it's something that happened in camp, or it's going to be maybe something that happens later in the fight, which would be covered in this. So over 2.5 rounds, right? So I think both guys will have the cardio on the tank to do that and the ability to survive that. No, the later the fight goes, could Aljamain Sterling maybe take over? Could he's extra experience? Let's say he gets into the 3rd round, 4th round, and it's takedown after takedown after takedown, and O'Malley tires, and then he gets submitted. I could see something like that happening. Or if it's, let's say it's a beatdown by either guy on the feet, and it goes later. Could I see a finish later? Yes. That's why I didn't go a decision. I was thinking about going for a decision. We look at that price later on, but I really like this over 2.5 rounds. I do think it's going to be an even fight. And when an even fight happens, it usually goes longer. So that's my bet for this one. Doesn't need to be any winner. You know, it could be a knockout at 2:31 of the 3rd round, and we'd still win. So that's what we're going for. The over 2.5 rounds in Aljamain Sterling versus Sugar Sean O'Malley. Right. My final bet, my flyer of the week. Now, I have slightly approximated this one. And if you listen to my PFL preview, you'll probably know what it is at this stage. But I'm going for Amanda Leibrock via knockout against Marina Mokhnatkina. Now, she's plus 300 just to win the fight straight up. Please keep an eye in the comment section below, and I will update the price, or maybe by the time this is out, John will have it. I'm going to estimate around plus 600, right? I'm going to estimate around plus 600 to get the knockout. So that's my bet of the week. As I said, when the bets come out later in the week, I will update in the comment section below. Could be plus 500, could be plus 700. I'll kind of go in the middle at where I think it might be at plus 600, right? And the reason I'm going for this, if people listen to, as I said, to that preview, I just like, I really like Amanda Leibrock. I have liked her, you know, since I started watching her a few years ago. But when I started doing the preview this year for the card that she was on, I'm like, well, you know what? She has the size, she has the skill, she has the athleticism, she has the knockout ability for a division that we don't really see a lot of people with those skills, right? And I my prediction at the start of the year was she caused a shock. What did she do? She head kick knocked out Martina Jindrova in the first round of their fight. Now, she got finished very quickly by Larissa Pacheco, but look, everyone is. So if we leave that to a side, I think she has every chance here. Look, it's only 2 months since that knockout. It was a heavy finish TKO, so I'm not counting that out. But I like her chances against Marina Mokhnatkina. Like, she's not too dissimilar to the other people in that division. If you look at like even Jandrova a little bit, even Kaleshnik, if she's coming in to fight in that division, she's going to be preparing for fighters like that who are, not bad strikers, who love a judo throw, love to get on top of you, maybe use their submissions and whatnot. Like Mokhnatkina in her career, 10 wins, 5 submissions, 4 decisions, 1 knockout. So she's not the biggest knockout artist in the world. Like, I really think Leibrock, just keep your distance, land that big head kick, land that big right hand from the outside, land the leg kicks inside. Do not let her get close to you. And if she does, hold on. But I think, 35 years of age as well, Marina Mokhnatkina, look, she's a great record. No doubt about it. She's had a great record in PFL over the last few years. The only person she's lost to in PFL is Kayla Harrison. She's won her last 4 in a row. You know, she's a very, very good fighter, but I don't think she's fought anyone in that level. Now, she went to split decision with Abigail Montes, who's a good fighter, but the level of striking she's going to be meeting in this one. The last time I think she met it was probably Janae Harding, and she lost that fight in Bellator. And I think Leibrock is even a little bit better in terms of, well, definitely a lot better in terms of her power, like 7 wins, 5 knockouts in there as well. I really like her. Funny enough, I'm looking at her record. She actually has a win over Janae Harding as well, so that bodes well if you're going for the MMA mats there in this one. So this is a sneaky little bet, a dirty, sneaky little bet from Shawnee here this week for the FLIER, Amanda Leibrock, via knockout, plus 600-ish. Keep an eye on the comment section. Right, those are the bets for the week. Let's run through the other cards. We'll start with PFL first and look at some of the prices. This one's actually updated from the preview. I didn't have this. Satoshi Ishii and Marquez minus 136. Oh, for Marquez. Marquez might have been one of my bets of the week if I'd seen that earlier. That's literally just after popping up. I really like that price, minus 136. Mazar and Neil, we spoke about that. Minus 250 for Neil is the favourite there. Chris Mixon, I like the look of him. He's a good fighter. Minus 225 against Eddie George. And Dukan Buckley, I think he will win as well at minus 175. You could get a good Aka here in this one. How about we go with Marquez, we go with Mixon, we go with Buckley, and maybe throw Nathan Kelly into that as well. That'd be a good one there. Let's you know what? While we're here, let's see how that is. So we're going Marquez, we're going Mixon, we're going Buckley, and we're going Nathan Kelly. Hold on, if I can find him. He's a little bit further down here. That's plus 400. Plus 400. Plus 399. Plus 400. I'll tell you what. That is a great parlay bet. Sean Sheehan's parlay of the week. Marquez, Mixon, Buckley, Kelly, plus 400. Boom. I might start doing that. Will I start doing a parlay of the week? How about that? We might start doing a parlay of the week, lads. More work for me, but look, if it's good, it's good. If that wins, we'll do a parlay of the week until it loses, right? We'll do another one, and if it loses next week, we won't do it anymore. So yeah, the rest of the PFL then, look, it's very hard to bet on the top of this PFL card, to be honest. Golsov, minus 800. Green, and Fihea minus 800. Pacheco, minus 1,000. You can't bet on that, like, you know. And then I told you, I've gone for the underdog in the other one, in Leibrock, Mokhnatkina. She's plus 300, as I said, straight up. I don't mind that at all. And the other one then is Babley against Wint, minus 175 for Babley. You know, that Wint, it's hard to know. He's only 1-0, I think. Let me just check on that. He's around that anyway. So you never know at that stage of their careers. And he is 1-0. We'll see how that goes, I suppose. Right. KSW, run through that quickly. The main event, Parnas, minus 333. Honestly, I think that's a good price as well there. Plus 230 against Rukala. You can check out the whole preview for that if you want more of a breakdown on that. I told you about the co-main event. He's one of my bets of the week. Patrick against Danu Tarchila. He's minus 300. Patrick is a big favourite. Patrick Surdan as well. In his fight is a favourite of minus 200. I do like him, watching the previews coming up for that. Lucas Rakowski, he's just about the favourite of minus 120 against Wilson Varela. So yeah, some interesting ones there. Kleber Silva as well. I think Kleber Silva might have a late change there. Rafael Kilashuk in that fight. Who's he supposed to fight? He was supposed to fight someone else, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, we will leave it at that. Let's talk about the UFC. Sterling and O'Malley obviously is the main event, but some of the undercard fights first. I was talking to my partner over in the Severe MMA podcast this week, Graham, and he was looking at that Chris Weidman price at plus 225. I see in one place here, and he was kind of saying to me, Shani, Chris Weidman in his day against Brad Tavares, you'd be all over that price. Now, Chris Weidman didn't look like Chris Weidman even before he broke the leg, so it's hard to expect him to look like it again. Having said that, though, is Brad Tavares the same fighter he was a few years ago? I would say probably not either. Look, Weidman came back and he competed in that jiu-jitsu match. Will that help him? I don't think it'll hurt. I'm very interested to see how Weidman looks here. Would a small bet on Weidman at plus 225 be a good one? I wouldn't go totally against it. Let's see the price on Weidman via submission. Plus 900, is that correct? Plus, if Weidman is plus 900 by submission, I really like that. Let's just see. It's been a while since I've seen a bit of Chris Weidman. Let's see him just on his Sherdog record here. 15-6. Let's see how many submissions. Only 4 submissions. So not a lot, but like, you know, he's obviously been concentrating jiu-jitsu, doing a little bit more of that. Submitted Kelvin Gastelum, you know, submitted a few guys earlier in his career as well. So yeah, not the most submissions in the world, but maybe that might be a bit of a semi-flyer there. Tulan Rodriguez is a big favourite there. I do like him minus 350, but you know, betting on that. Gerald Meerschaert, I saw a thing today that Gerald Meerschaert, when he finishes or when he wins fights, he's won by finish every time. So what's Meerschaert inside the distance? He is plus 240. Sorry, he's at plus 200 straight up. So if you don't fancy him, I would go for that. I do not fancy him though. I think Petrosky will get it done there. Andrea Lee against Nathaniel Silva. I always like a bit of Andrea Lee as an underdog. Always like Andrea Lee as an underdog. I'd be betting her there plus 275. I see she's plus 280 here in one place. I do like that. Karine Silva then against Marina Moroz is kind of a step up for her, but I don't think maybe Moroz set the world alight as much as she thought about recently. Maybe the over on that. The fight goes to decision minus 125. That's the one I'd be going for on that one. Fight goes to decision minus 125. And in the rest of the card here, we have Vera and Munoz. I'm surprised how close this is, to be honest. Minus 200 for Vera. I just think like the uptake he's had in his career over the last few years, I thought he would be I thought he'd be a bit of a bigger price. So maybe, you know, still a touch overrated, but like maybe he's a touch underrated now. I don't know. It's one of those ones. I'm not sure about him anymore. Whereas Munoz, we thought Munoz was kind of falling off a cliff, but then he came back last time out and looked good. I do like Vera in that one, to be honest. Fight goes to decision again, minus 275. See, that's a lot. How about Vera by decision? That would be, let me just look at that. That's plus 105. Still not amazing. I'd be avoiding that one, to be honest. I would be avoiding that one. And then we have the top 3, Lemos and Zhang. The straight up prices on that, minus 333 for Zhang Weili, plus 250 for Lemos. If you fancy the over 2.5 rounds on that, it's minus 125. Fancy the under 2.5 rounds, it's minus 105. You know, not bad at all there. A fight goes to decision is plus 240. Fight finished inside the distance, minus 350. So people do fancy that. If you like Zhang to get the knockout, plus 150. I was looking at that, but I just didn't think it was strong enough for me there. The submission for Zhang is plus 400. And if you fancy Lemos inside the distance, it's plus 350. Or Lemos to get the decision, plus 900. So she's a massive underdog all the way there. Then we have Ian Gary against Neil Magny. You know, this is a massive change in opponent for Ian Gary. Very different sort of opponent. He's been out in Brazil, you know, hasn't been with his camp in Florida. It's very interesting. Risky fight. It's a risky fight. So we'll see how this goes. With minus 450 for Ian Gary. Plus 325 for Ian Magny. I think that is way too far apart, to be honest. I would have Ian Gary as the favourite. I do think he will win, but I wouldn't be betting him at that price without a shadow of a doubt. I'd probably, you know, if it was minus 200 or something like that, yeah, but not at that price, I don't think. Yeah, and obviously that's a newer fight, so the bets are still coming out on that one, but yeah, that line seems a little bit too wide for me. I think Sterling versus O'Malley, minus 250 money line for Sterling. O'Malley is plus 200, which is an interesting line. I think that's just about right. I'll be honest here. I think that's just about right. There's so many interesting bets in this one. O'Malley to get the knockout, plus 300. Sterling to get the knockout, plus 500. That was one of the ones I was looking at, because I do think O'Malley's jiu-jitsu is going to be good, and maybe good enough to survive. Like, could we see a ground and pound? Could we see O'Malley getting tired towards the end? Like, that's kind of my prediction. That's like the bet I've gone for is the over 2.5 rounds. And that's like, why didn't I go later? Why didn't I go to the decision? Because I do think there is that possibility that he doesn't see it out, O'Malley. So we could be looking good at that bet late, but let's see. Sterling by submission plus 175, and O'Malley by submission plus 2,200. So very, very big lines there. Let's just see the decision. Fight goes to decision, plus 163. Fight doesn't go to decision, minus 225. All right, just to recap the bets again: Bogdan Gnidko over in KSW, plus 163. Nate Kelly straight up minus 275. Zhang Weili inside the distance, minus 163. The fight in the main event over in the UFC, Aljamain Sterling and Sean O'Malley to go over 2.5 rounds at minus 150. And my flyer of the week is Amanda Leibrock to get the KO at around plus 600. All right, everyone. My name is Sheehan for Sherdog.com. Please bet responsibly, and we'll see you all next time.